Okay, well, it's been a second. So I haven't uploaded in 3 weeks. Now, what was I doing in that time period? Well, one, I was working a lot and I'm getting ready to go back to school. And then also, I've been doing a bit of a suspension rebuild on my car. So, my old suspension was simply a set of BC Racing BR coilovers, and they kind of rode like trash. I think that the shocks just weren't the highest quality, and I think that they were a little bit too stiff for what the MIATA should have. You know, the car just rode like garbage. So after dailying my car for, you know, a month, I figured, all right, it's time to fix that. So I ended up basically building my own set of coilovers. So I found a used set of some Bilsteins shocks, and they had some crappy springs on it. So I took the springs off, kept the top hat, and now what I have is essentially a set of Bilstein shocks with the spring rate at 500 foot-pounds front and 300 rear. So as far as ride quality, it's definitely better than the BCs. It's still a MIATA, and you know, this DIY Bilstein setup is probably around 800 to 900 bucks when you go the used route like I did. So as far as, you know, the cost, it is kind of cheap, but you know, they definitely ride pretty well for a MIATA. I say pretty well for a MIATA because this thing is, it's 15 years, oh my, that's hot. I say pretty well for a MIATA because this car is 15 years old and it just doesn't ride nicely. It just doesn't. I live in Michigan. There's potholes everywhere. Our roads simply don't exist. Now in terms of handling, they're pretty much comparable to the BCs. I think the actual, like, the confidence that you get from the BCs, just simply being able to adjust the actual damping, is a little bit better. You know, these Bilsteins, you can't actually adjust the dampening at all, so you kind of are stuck. Now, luckily, the car actually feels pretty good right now. I think it's in a pretty solid spot, so that isn't really too much of an issue, but if you are looking for that kind of like adjustability on the fly, it doesn't exist. Now, along with the new coilover setup, I also did a couple other things. So I got some Bauer extended lower ball joints. So for the fronts of the MIATA, you can't actually get a whole lot of negative camber. So you actually have to install these extended ball joints, and that kind of lets you bump up the negative camber a little bit. And the big thing is that with, you know, these ball joints, you can get more negative camber up front, and you can actually make it so that there's more up front than in the rear. Now what this ideally is going to do is make it a little bit more prone to oversteer rather than understeer. So with those lower ball joints, I also got a new alignment. Now it's not exactly what I would call a quality alignment. It's pretty off. 949 Racing, aka Super MIATA, has this really awesome page dedicated to the alignment and suspension setup for MIATAs. Everything in this video, by the way, is going to be in the description if you're just wondering, you know, what it's like to build it or anything. So the alignment that I wanted to get was called a dual duty. This is meant for cars that, you know, are mostly driven on street, but they also go out on track, you know, pretty frequently. And it's supposed to be kind of this good mix. And I went into the alignment shop, and it's not the best. The values aren't perfect, but for now it's fine. I'm not too worried about it, but it is, you know, it's kind of annoying. So I'll show what the actual alignment is right now, and then yeah, if you're interested in what the 949 Racing dual duty looks like, that'll be in the description. So what have I done? I've done higher quality coilovers, more negative camber up front as well as in the rear a little bit. Now what's left is a sway bar. Now what I've heard is that most people like to upgrade the front sway bar and leave the rear stock. Now I simply don't feel like doing that, simply because I don't want to pay for a sway bar, and I just want to enjoy the car now and maybe go out on the track and see how it feels. So I'm not going to be doing that for a while, but that is in the future. So that is where I've been for 3 weeks, and I'm hoping that eventually I'm going to be out on track. The issue is that there aren't really a whole lot of track days mid-August for some reason, which sucks because this is when I actually have time to do all this, but it's whatever, you know. But yeah, would I recommend doing this DIY Bilstein setup? Absolutely. I think the ride quality is pretty solid. It's no, you know, Zeta like $2,000 coilover, but it's pretty good. So, see you guys later. Thank you for watching, and let me know if you want to see anything else. See ya.